I don't think so.
While Godzilla was first introduced several decades ago, he's managed to retain his popularity even in today's age. In fact, he's amassed a cult-like fan following with every new Godzilla release, and recently, the franchise has expanded into animated series, comics, games, and other media. The past couple of years has especially been a treat for Godzilla fans, with numerous crossovers and movie releases. One such release has been the Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics, and today, we'll be exploring the newly released sequel to this comic series. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What was the Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all about? Published in IDW Comics and Boom Studios, the Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was a 5-part comic miniseries that was released in 2022. The series was based on the premise that Rita Repulsa had used the multiversal focus to travel to an alternate reality, where she could be freed from the Power Rangers. In her attempt to escape the Rangers, Rita landed in more trouble as she ended up in a universe where Godzilla had taken over the Earth. While the Exilian invaders were trying to assert control over Earth, they struggled to defeat him, and Rita then teamed up with them to defeat Godzilla. Of course, the Power Rangers could not stay away from this scene, and even they ended up on Earth to deal with the chaos. This comic series was quite a hit, and it was soon renewed for a sequel release in 2024. Now that enough time has passed, the first issue of the sequel is finally out. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2, Issue 1 Explored. The last issue of the original comic series ended with the Rangers defeating Rita and then returning to their home reality, where they were congratulated by Zordon. While they accepted these wishes, they mentioned that they had immense help from Godzilla, even though he was not warm or accepting of them. While things return to normalcy for Godzilla and the Rangers, Rita Repulsa uses her fractured multiversal focus to escape and come up with a plan to dominate the universe. In the aftermath of these events, IDW Comics and Boom Studios announced a sequel, which marked the return of author Cullen Bunn and colorist Andrew Dahlhaus. This comic is said to reintroduce Rita Repulsa as she recruits a bunch of allies and messes around with the multiversal focus. Once again, we can expect to see the Rangers join hands with an unwilling Godzilla to face Rita, who has seemingly plotted a grand scheme to dominate the mere fragment of reality itself. In fact, the comic issue kicks off with a clash between the White Tiger Ranger and several of Rita's minions, who seem to have cornered him in an entirely unknown dimension. As the White Ranger strived to keep up with all the attacks directed at him, he consulted his sentient sword, Saba, and realized that they were in some alternate version of Angel Grove that had seen more destruction than the original one. Meanwhile, Rita hollered at her team to defeat the White Ranger, at risk of him ruining their entire plan if they let him get away. Soon enough, Rita's fears came true as the Ranger got a hold of a magical rock, and Saba informed him that this rock was a piece of the multiversal focus that could be used to get out of there. While Rita rushed to enlarge her monster and stop the White Ranger, he activated the Tiger Zord and tried to find a way out when his sword detected severe energy fluctuations in the environment. The Ranger suspected that these energy readings were just one of Rita's tricks, but soon enough, he was proven wrong when Godzilla emerged from the shadows. All the chaos in this dimension had woken him up from his deep, dormant slumber, and he didn't seem too happy about it. While Godzilla roared in annoyance and attacked anyone in its path, the Ranger realized he was not one of Rita's monsters. Nevertheless, he had to rush and get out of Godzilla's way, and even the Tiger Zord could not keep up with him or defeat him. After realizing that Godzilla's strength was on an entirely different level, the White Ranger decided to pull out the big guns and convert the Tiger Zord into warrior mode. Meanwhile, the multiversal focus came to be a handy tool that could transport them to safety, and the Ranger soon used it to jump to a different dimension. As he underwent this process, he realized he could not keep running away like this, and he even had a conversation with Saba about how they must find a new solution, since they cannot even control what dimension they might hop onto next with the multiversal focus. Soon enough, they appeared in another dimension amid a lot of chaos, and were spotted by several humans who wondered how someone appeared out of thin air, and if he was a Ranger. While the crowd around him did not seem to identify him, the White Ranger realized that he'd landed in his home dimension of Angel Grove, before Rita had wrought havoc all over the place. He seemed quite hopeful about this particular dimension, and while a crowd gathered around him in wonder and amusement over actually getting to witness a Power Ranger in action, he soon rushed to the other Rangers to show them the multiversal focus fragment. Thankfully, the Rangers in this dimension seemed to have some experience with this, and they keenly listened to the White Ranger as he told them all about Rita's plans for universal domination. In fact, Zordon also appeared on the big screen. To hear the White White Ranger talk about how Rita appears with armies of monsters to conquer dimensions by taking the residents by surprise and then sweeping up the Rangers from different worlds into her reality stream. After collecting these Rangers, Rita had managed to strip them of their powers, and the White Ranger had somehow stolen a piece of the multiversal focus in the hopes that it would stop Rita or at least slow her down for a while. As the story unfolds, the White Ranger elaborates on how he figured out Rita's plans when she attacked his dimension, and that she poses a bigger threat this time around, as she has a bunch of allies. Among others, Rita had teamed up with Astronema, who sensed that the White Ranger had teamed up with other Rangers and that they might be onto them. While most Power Ranger villains would shiver at the thought of facing an entire team together, Rita nonchalantly brushed her off and declared that this was a good chance for her to add them to her collection. As the two bickered back and forth, Astronema brought up the fact that Rita had recently failed to acquire Godzilla for her collection. Still, Rita did not seem too fazed by this either and confidently declared that their plan was falling into place. As the scene shifted to the Rangers, they discussed their potential opponents and the fact that they needed to put up a united front. In the meantime, they sensed another multiversal disturbance and scrambled to get into position when Rita made her presence known. Besides Astronema and a bunch of other allies, she somehow managed to lure Godzilla into traveling across dimensions with her. Their collective power was a huge threat to Angel Grove, and as they prepared to jump into action, Zordon urged them to be careful and ensure that these forces don't lay waste to their world. As the comic issue comes to an end, Rita and Astronema have a quick conversation before the action unfurls, and Rita even orders Astronema around. The latter doesn't take kindly to this and reminds Rita that she had rescued her from the void in the first place, and that she needs to show her some respect. In addition, Astronema also introduced her Psycho Rangers, who were capable of wreaking havoc and even causing harm to Rita if she were to disrespect Astronema in any way. An amused Rita pays attention to Astronema, and then diverts her attention to Psycho Ranger Ghidorah, who's visibly itching to jump into battle. Marvelous verdict. And well, that was it, folks. As this comic issue comes to an end on a suspenseful note, we can't wait to see how things unfold in the next one. As Rita and her allies gear up to siphon Godzilla's powers to face the Rangers, only time will tell whether the Rangers manage to sway Godzilla to their side again, or if they might end up facing the mighty kaiju in a twist of events. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
That can't be good.